Hello everybody, we are going live today with Michali, as we usually do on a Tuesday, but also with a special guest, Mrs. Lisa Elefant, with an F, my bad, when I spelled it on the stories. Thank you for joining. We're just going to wait for Lisa to pop up and Michali so that we can join them as well. Michali, I see you. Let me add you. Let's see how to do this. Okay, I just invited you, Michali. And let's see if we have accept. Okay. Hi, Michali.
Hello.
Hi. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Waiting for Lisa to show up.
All right, I'll just be sipping my tea.
Okay, awesome.
So we have a lot to discuss today.
I know, but we're gonna try to keep it to like 30 minutes just for everyone's schedule's sake.
Yes, that I think is fair, and everyone's very busy. So if people are watching right now, either they're on a lunch break or
Exactly.
in between errands or whatever. So I definitely appreciate whoever's on here today.
I just invited. Dr. Shine.
Okay, I see.
Hi, Lisa.
Okay, amazing.
Okay, good to see you.
Hi.
Okay.
Hey, nice to see all of you.
Alrighty, so we're going to start. So this is in response to the ad that was posted. We're not going to focus a lot on the ad, but we're just going to say that it started a lot of conversation, and we felt like it would be responsible for us to address it.
Yeah.
And I love that Lisa wanted to address it. I mean, Holly wants to address it.
I think we were on the phone, Faye,
Yeah.
when I got the text, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm sure you've seen this. Are you freaking out as much as I am?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
just texted it to me, and I totally put Michali off. I was like, no, Michali, we don't have to address this. Lisa texted me. I was like, okay, maybe I have to like come up from my little tinted rock. We have to address this. So
I don't even get the publication, but I saw it somewhere else, and I just, of course, I had my own like personal reaction to it, and then my mental health, had kind of kicked in, and I mean, just it kind of ballooned into just so many ideas that I think we all want here to discuss today, but there's just so much to say about the ideas presented.
Correct. All right, who wants to start? Lisa, do you want to share some of your thoughts, like when you got the ad?
So yeah, obviously I'm the only real non-professional here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I
don't consider.
I feel like I should have some letter. I feel like I should have some letters after my name.
Yes, especially all the time you put in. You deserve the time. You deserve it. The title.
Thank you. I am in the trenches, and
Yeah.
especially my girls know, that I'm in it with them. It's a journey. Some girls get married 1920. Some girls takes a couple of years longer. I am with you till you're at the chuppah. Like I really am. And one of the things is, obviously, part of the shidduch process is coming and having your meeting with a shadchan.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like by me, right away, I look at a person's face. I see her smile. I see, and right away, if she just comes in, whether she's smiling or she's nervous or she just like has a confidence to her, like right away, everything else to me doesn't really matter. Like if you're happy and you're confident, like you're beautiful to me. Like someone will ask me, I'll say, you're a real, she's a really, really pretty girl. So that's number one. And when a shadchan meets with somebody, they have a responsibility to make sure that that person leaves happy, like feels like, okay, this, whether this lady will or won't have an idea for me, she listened to what I had to say. She heard me. I do know personally of stories. I can't really understand them, that people will tell me that they go and they meet a shadchan and the shadchan says, well, you got to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever it is. And every time I hear the story, even though it's the same story on repeat, it still shocks me every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the girl that's meeting you, do you think she doesn't know that she might have a couple of pounds that she may or may not want to lose? I don't think she needs you, the first time you ever laid eyes on her, need to be the one to say something. And what I've seen is that some girls that are very, very skinny are very, very miserable because they're working really, really hard at it. For some people, it comes naturally. They have good genetics. They're always following, since they're a baby, they're in the 25th percentile. And that's great. If you follow your growth track and, that's beautiful. Some girls don't have to struggle, but most girls do have to struggle. And for some, it's really a major struggle, and it impacts them because they're like grouchy, they're grumpy, and again, I'm not saying don't be. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't be skinny, but I'm saying that diets in general are usually a pretty big no-no. It's
Yeah.
more about like eating responsibly. Um, but like I said, going back to just my shotgun role, just focusing on that person's smile. And if she's properly made up and she's put together, even if you're not a size 0 or a 2 or a 4, there are plenty of beautiful, there's clothing. Just learn to, accessorize and just look good. That's all. And forget about the weight. The weight is something, only you can decide what you want to do with it. You own your decision, whether you want to diet, whether you want to stay as you are. Just be happy, be confident, and just own that decision.
Mm-hmm. And there's no reason, like, this is what I felt like I need Lisa to like say this for the world, because you're a leader of a shadchan in the Jewish community, I think globally, and I feel like for you to come out and say like there is no excuse for a shadchan to ever recommend somebody losing weight is really powerful. Like never, ever, ever under any circumstance, like I think that it's just promoting more dysfunction around food, eating, body, and there's enough of that right in our community and not something that we need more of from anybody, but especially a shadchan when it's already such a sensitive topic that everyone's struggling with, or maybe not everybody, but many people.
Right. And if a boy or a boy's mother will hear like such wonderful things, about her and the way the shadchan presents her, listen, a girl who, might not be a size 2 may not go out on as many dates as a girl who is a size 2. But Hashem controls your shidduchim.
Exactly.
So maybe you'll go out with less boys. Maybe you won't have a date every month or every 3 months or even every 6 months. But when it's time for your bashar to be there, he's going to show up at the door.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think shadchanim sometimes, or just people in general, think that they need to be the one to like send the message of some sort that losing weight is going to help you get your bashart. And like that's A, not true, and B, not anybody's place to say like who's like we're doing God's work, but we're not playing God,
Exactly.
Okay. I appreciate that, Lisa. Thank you. I think it's like brave, and I think that every shadchan can take a line from that, like not their place, right? Like not appropriate. And
yeah, I'm going to call, when the live is over, I'm going to let my bodyguard know that, he should be on call. Because, I don't know. But
it's not a popular opinion.
I'm really shocked myself, though.
And single.
I was shocked though. Like I heard, like my sister-in-law was telling me, shout out to Lima, that there was this another article in the paper a few weeks ago where like somebody wrote in, should I be losing weight? And many prominent people, I have no idea who it was, I never saw the article. Many prominent people said, yes, it's your hishtadlus. And I was like, seriously? Like in 2022, this is what they're saying? Like really? Like I thought I live under a rock, but apparently there's deeper rocks, heavier rocks.
Right. No, a person, and again, if a person's weight is causing them to feel insecure, then by all means, they should go to a nutritionist or go to whomever it is. But we're talking about healthy girls that, society may view as having to lose X amount of pounds. If they're happy and they're doing what they want to do, let them be. He's going to come. They know, they see the world. Everybody knows what kind of society we live in. Thin is in, thin has always been in. But that doesn't mean that that's the way, you have to kill yourself to be. Not everybody. People are born into different families, different frames, different, and I think also in general, the Jewish diet. I mean, if you take a look at the Jewish, like Shabbos,
Yeah.
a normal person would have to like fast a whole week just not to eat on Shabbos. So
Right.
You know, I think like just with mindful type of eating,
Right. Intuitive.
and you know,
Mm-hmm.
you can eat what you want to eat, and just make sure that you're eating things, you know, that in the long run will be good for you, will help you.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the concept, and maybe this is where like the training of from eating disorders comes in and my therapeutic background, but and not necessarily something that a shadchan would know, and you seem to be educated in the space, but really that a healthy relationship with food, eating, and body and your mind is like what you're pursuing, not pounds on the numbers on the scale, not pounds off their waistline, because that's like literally never gets the job done in the sense of like being healthy. It's like an inverted situation. The more you succeed in that number, the unhealthier you become. So it's really like pursuing health and happiness and a healthy relationship with food, eating, and body. And that doesn't always come from going into a nutritionist. Like I just wanted to pin that on back of what you said, because many nutritionists are pro eating disorders, even though it's not, you know, in the realm of an eating disorder. So even like a shadchan could be so innocent and say, you know, just go to a nutritionist, but that can be like go to somebody that's going to give you a diet to follow that is not telling you to starve yourself, but really restrictive for somebody like you. So it's really pursuing a healthy relationship with food, eating, and body. And that really comes from a lot of self-work, like personal development work, seeing a good nutritionist potentially, a therapist. I'm not here to like, you know, push therapy, but ultimately there's a space for therapists, a coach, whatever it is to make yourself healthy and happy, and have a healthy relationship with your mind, body, and food. And I think that's something that most people have to work towards, especially in the society that we live in. It's not just if you're in shidduchim or just if you're in the Jewish community. Definitely, there are more triggers around us in many ways, but I think in the outside world there are different triggers, and we have these triggers, and it's almost like just a message that you need to go inward and figure and work this through. And I think that going to any nutritionist might not be the best option, because it's about your relationship with yourself and your food and your eating and your body and your people, the people in your life. It's just more complex.
And I think we see also, let's say when you know, when a girl meets somebody and she's happy and she knows, you know, that you know, maybe he's the right one, you know, she might decide that she wants to change, because she respects this person and she likes this person, and she's not necessarily doing it for him, she's doing it for herself. But like when somebody will just come into somebody for the first time, you know, hypothetically, if a shadchan is telling them you need to lose weight, a shadchan is telling them like you need to change your life based on something dumb that I just said. You know, like
Yeah, it's like your own personal value, not necessarily their value.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to give you a chance to chime in because you have so many important things to say, and I feel like I was.
And I'm just like sitting back and enjoying the show, but I really agree with your points. I mean, I think that, you know, whenever a human being lays eyes on something that is thought provoking or just provocative in general, I think that, you know, their particular lens is going to inform the thoughts that kind of come. And I think that depending on who I speak to about this, you know, different thoughts are going to come up. But I think that, you know, for me, I'm going to just be completely honest. I mean, my own personal experience with these kinds of toxic messages was when I was dating, I definitely got the message. I used to be much chubbier, and I definitely got the message of like, you know, you're too fat to get married kind of thing. And something needs to be done about this, you know? And it's devastating on so many levels. It can create so much shame. It can just kind of perpetuate this dysfunctional relationship with food and health. And those two things can be conflated. But then I think that, you know, I know Faye, you like numbers of things. So I was like thinking about, you know, like the different points that I would want to make about the messages that came from this ad is, number one, just really talking about how this perpetuates like the eating disorder diet culture that, you know, is really prevalent in our society, and how it's really anti the idea of that, like, food is meant to bring joy and to bring health into our lives, and size has nothing to do with health. You know, there's the whole movement of health at every size and intuitive eating, which I fully support. And I think that food should be something that's joyous. And, Lisa, you mentioned like you see these girls who are told they have to lose weight in order to be wanted. And they're absolutely miserable, and that just speaks to that they're completely, ignoring what their bodies might need. We tend as human beings to be grumpy if we're hungry, and our bodies are screaming to us, like, please take care of me, help me. And if we ignore that, we are going to be miserable on a physical level and on an emotional level. So I think, promoting messages that food is really about health and we need to nurture our bodies, not abuse our bodies, I think is super important. The second point is just the, idea of what beauty is and how that determines our eligibility to get married and how that affects attraction, which I think is like a whole separate kind of discussion. Like, what is attraction? What is, is it okay to have personal preferences, even if they're picky, as it relates to body size? But then how do we balance that with, health at every size and promoting an idea of like, it's not like a one size fits all kind of thing. Then the third idea is really that, there was like this assumption in the ad that shidduchim is for sure the next step, that you end seminary and then for sure 100% you're getting married. And if not, there's something wrong with you. Right. And I think that, I'm definitely not wearing like the frum hat here right now, but there is the whole concept of that the mitzvah to get married, and to have kids is not on the woman, it's on the man, so especially for women, if you do have Torah values, like you don't have to get married the second you leave seminary. You don't even have to go to seminary if that doesn't work for you. I know I'm saying something pretty blasphemous here, but
point. I didn't even think of it when I saw the ad, because again, like, I really thought it was like a meme. And then when you said that to me, I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, I guess I'm also just so used to hearing that, like you just become so used to hearing those things that you don't even think to be sensitive about them. But then, like, yes, like here I am many years after seminary and I'm single. I'm like, what does that mean to me? Thank God these things go 747 over my head. Otherwise I might have a lot more things to deal with.
And it happens to be also, I saw with my daughter and her friends that, sometimes you come in from seminary and you've got a couple of extra pounds on you. But once you go and you get back into normal eating cycle and sleeping cycle, it's not even a problem. So I think another problem with the ad is freaking out all these seminary girls. Like, don't worry about it. Have a good time.
Yeah.
Again, be responsible. Obviously, if you're going to eat 4 loaves of bread every day, you might need a jumbo size seat, on the way home.
First class, not so bad. First class.
Okay, but
if that works for the person, and if that's consistent with their health, like if they're healthy, then if that works for them, fine. But I like what you said, Lisa, earlier, that it's more if someone is unhappy with the size of their body and they want to shift things, then there are healthier, or to use your term, like more responsible ways of eating that are consistent with health at a specific size that they want. But not everyone has to want to be that size, but I think that kind of segues into the other piece that, it's not just like the seminary girls who are kind of being roped in here. It's the parents, and it's almost like an invitation for parental enmeshment and over involvement in these girls' lives when they're really supposed to be adults. And what does it mean to be an independent adult is at the very least owning your body, and taking responsibility for your body and the health of your body. And I think that the assumption that the parents are going to be making the decision, for their adult, daughters' bodies, I think is also speaks to a whole separate dysfunction that exists on a broader scale that needs to be addressed. But I think, there's so many topics. So that was like my fourth topic that, if I had to, give it a number. But there's so many directions that we can take that,
Right. I really like that fourth point too. Like, where parents, it's like, again, perpetuating this unhealthy enmeshment and involvement. Like, you want your daughter to get married or your son to get married, and yet we're monitoring what goes in and out of their body. So that's just like so blatantly skewed, for lack of a better word. And
Yeah.
but what I think that brings out an important point is that the individual themselves, this, young adult, you are now responsible to take care of yourself and to pursue a healthy relationship with food, eating, body, relationships in terms of people in your life, and not to blame, well, my mother does this to me and she says this, and the shopman told me this, and how do you expect me to get out of bed? And of course I'm going to, continue doing whatever I'm doing because, and of course I'm going to either pursue an eating disorder or pursue, whatever it is because of all these outward messages. But no, you are an adult, and really it's time to really own whatever's going on around you, but really take control in a healthy way because you're an adult. And I think that at 18, like, I don't think I felt like that, but like, and I don't think many 18-year-olds feel like that. So I think it's like important if someone's like young now listening to this, like it might hurt to hear that you're really an adult.
Yeah.
You are, and like just, starving yourself or being unhealthy because, like the shotgun told you this, and like you feel like now it's your responsibility to do that is really wrong. And like you're going to pay the price. So don't, I beg you.
Yeah. And I think that, from the other perspective, these girls are 18, 19 years old, they're babies, right? And it's their first taste of adulthood. So that's why they're called young adults, because they're not full-fledged adults, they're young adults. And so that doesn't mean that they can't get support from their parents, or in this case, their mothers, or that they can't, seek someone else's knowledge and expertise in this area of life. But the shift is really about like, I own my body. And, of course, like as a sex therapist, like that, I think having that hashkafa of that I own my body is the appropriate step to having a healthy sexuality and intimacy in a marriage. If my mother owns my body or the shadchan owns my body, then how do I show up in the bedroom, But I think that, there's this like, if you follow like the whole like health at every size, movement, they talk about how really, BMI is not a measure for health. A person can be, what's considered overweight or even obese and be picture perfect health. In picture perfect health, it has a lot to do with genetics and, food types, or, Faye, I talk about like blood types, or, just a million different factors where we live. That all contributes to, what size we are. And there's just so many factors that it's almost as the same thing as like what color eyes we have, but there's no judgment for the most part on our eye color. There can be a preference for eye color, but there isn't a judgment that, if you have brown eyes, you equal as a human being this. But there is that association when it comes to body size. And I really think it should just be the same as eye color. But yeah, I think there's like a few different pieces here, and really is like kind of teasing apart, what are healthy messages for young adults to have when it comes to their bodies and dating. There's just so much to say about this.
Answers, right? Like it's just a matter of, I think that the responsibility is to have these conversations in an open and honest way. And if somebody says the wrong thing, to really like explain things to them, like I was having this conversation with my family and every other word was like, no, you can't say that. No, you can't say that. And I was like pretty scared to have this conversation, to be honest, because you can really say the wrong thing without meaning to, because we have so many toxic messages around that we kind of accepted as not toxic. And it's really hard to come out of that and see clearly what is healthy and what is not healthy. So don't be scared to speak up. And I think that was really the point of this conversation, which is like, speak up. And of course, what Lisa had said about like, no, she would never say this to somebody, and any shotgun should not be saying that. But I think all these other outgrowth conversations are so important as well.
Yeah. And I think someone here is saying like, BMI is overrated and image is unfortunately put on a pedestal in shidduchim. And I think, and this is where it's like a really fine balance. And to your point, Faye, it's really tough to navigate these many issues in a public forum, because it really depends on so many personal subjective factors too. So, I don't know who we're talking to with our viewers, and I don't know their histories and, how they relate to these ideas. But I think that attraction is important and a necessary ingredient in a healthy marriage. And I think that we all are attracted to different things. If you think about, any movies that you may have watched, someone may objectively be considered beautiful, but you might be like, I get that they're pretty, but or attractive, but like it doesn't like speak to me, Yeah, it's so subjective. The whole idea of beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and so I think attraction is so important and so subjective. And when people say, "Oh, they're pretty" or "They're good looking," we all are talking about completely different things. And I think that teasing that apart from BMI, from obesity, which is just based on BMI, and it's pretty made up. If you look even the history of BMI, the whole thing is like so unscientific. I think that attraction is not just okay or allowed. It's important and crucial in a marriage. And that looks different from person to person for guys and girls. And the other piece, and this kind of relates to the enmeshment piece, is that attraction shouldn't be what the mother thinks is attractive. Attraction should be between the boy and the girl, or the young man and the young lady, and I think that this other piece of like the parent has to be the one who deems the prospect as attractive is also something that we kind of want to distance ourselves from. That is really about, what do I feel is healthy for me and my body? What's important for me to put in my body so that I feel, I feel joyful around food, and I feel like I'm healthy and I have energy and I can think clearly. What do I think is attractive? And, what am I looking for? Not just attraction on a physical level, but attraction on an emotional and spiritual level. I think if we start asking ourselves those questions at 18 or 19, and what do I actually want? Do I maybe not want to get married right now? Maybe I'm not ready, or there are other things I want to pursue.
I was just going to jump in for a second and say also, like, for all those seminary girls, that are coming home in a couple of months, this ad also, spoke to me in terms of like, not every girl who jumps off the plane should be in shidduchim even. Some girls are like, oh my gosh, can't wait, and good for them, go for it. But you should not feel that pressure. There are some girls that don't even start dating till 20, and it's really totally fine. So you also feel like, let all the society craziness, like, oh my gosh, come home, date right away, figure out what you want. Maybe you want to also do some more self body care, whatever it is. Don't put yourself out there until like you're ready. There's no reason, just because all your friends are dating, or people are asking you for your resume. I'm not dating yet. It's okay to say that.
And I think like in certain sub communities in our overall community, it's more accepted to wait a few years to start dating. But I think that in other sub communities, there is the expectation that by the time you hit your mid-20s, you're old, you're an older single, but really they're also babies. I think that, especially if you look at those sub communities and you look at the psychology of the teenagers becoming young adults, they don't know, they haven't tasted real independence. It's very cushy. Things are very planned out and structured, and there's a lot of safety and coziness in that. But it also means that these young adults have to work that much harder to cultivate their own sense of self and to differentiate and to know what it means to take responsibility for themselves on every level. Like I still remember, my first year out of seminary, I went to Israel for 2 years, and I remember thinking, oh, if I want to daven, no one's telling me from this time to this time is davening time. If I want to daven, then I have to set an alarm to get up at a certain time to daven. Otherwise, it's not happening, and it was such a shocking revelation to me that, oh, I'm actually in charge of my own time. And if I don't do anything, then nothing happens. And I think that having that space after yeshiva, after seminary, to really get in touch with yourself and what do you want? And the answer might be, I have no idea. So then explore. Go out into the world, explore what you're interested in, try new things, get to know yourself so that you can cultivate a sense of self and independence, and then you can enter dating. And I agree with you, Lisa, that some people, want to start dating right after seminary or yeshiva, and that's completely okay. If that works for you, go for it. But I think a lot of people feel so pressured and not ready, and they're not even sure what they want. And so they rely on other people's opinions and their people that are close to them, to kind of tell them what's expected and what they should want. And that can get really tricky and problematic in the future. So
that could be weird. Like a lot of the eating disorders come in any extreme, right? Like if a parent
yeah.
child to move on before they're ready to move on, then that could create a lot of tension. And that's why it's not about the food and eating. Like as eating disorder therapists, we're trained to say, like, that's just the pairing or the distraction, because it's never about that. It's about what's really going on inside. So I think parents too, like maybe parents that are marrying off their first or second or, child, and they don't get into things like this, maybe, like their first one maybe just went like that. And the second's like, no. And they're like freaking out. And then all that tension and dynamic can come out in so many other ways. But again, like to your point and to our point earlier of the 18, 19 or 20-year-old is an adult to use their voice to assert that in a respectful way and figure out their own like independence and interdependence with parents and other authority figures, whether it's shadchanim. But I love that you said that, Lisa, also about it's totally okay to ask for your time, ask for your space. It's a life skill, honestly. It doesn't end at 18, 19 or 20. That's like when it starts, and that's something you need for the rest of your life. So
yeah. And I think parents listening to this, I think one way of bridging that gap and making some shifts in our communities is that parents can say to their children when they can come back home, okay, look, things are a little bit different now, right? Your life has gone through major shifts in the past few years. And this is what it's going to be like to become an adult now that you're back, from Israel, or seminary. And they can say things like I see someone says of here, like there is no rush, there is no pressure. What do you want? When it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And, Bashar also means that it doesn't mean that there's someone else's timeline that we're living our lives by. It's our own timeline. We each have our own timeline. And one of the things that indicates that we're not ready is, when we don't know or we're feeling, we have to kind of push ourselves to go out on dates, or people are saying things that make us afraid. If we're approaching dating out of fear, that is sometimes a sign that we're just not ready. So I think parents can sit down with their young adult children and say, I just want to hear from you. What do you want? And just so you know, the world is open to you. There's no right or wrong time. And when you're ready, Hashem knows that, and he's going to meet you where you're at. He has to agree that you're ready, but, so what do you want? What works for you? We all do things in our own time. So, I think that can be like a helpful step forward for parents. And that's different than an enmeshment and telling children, you have to do this, for this decision that I'm making. It's, you get to make your decision because it's your life. How can I support you and help you? So I think that's where we can move forward.
Girls will come home, like on that seminary high. And sometimes it stays with them for life. And sometimes some of them come down to earth. And if they would have dated the minute they got off the plane on that seminary high, I'd be a little nervous, that they might be going out long term with maybe the wrong type of boy. Because right now on the plane, you want that 5-year learner. But really, once you're home in a couple of months, you're realizing, I don't know, 5 years is like a really long time. And, I don't know if I want to give up X, Y, Z. So that's also something to, to consider, why it's not a bad idea. And again, some girls come home and they're on a seminary high and they're going to live their life like that. And it's beautiful. I'm not taking that away. But for a lot of girls, they're not sure. They came home, they had a great year, whatever. They gave up their smartphone and then they're home for a couple of months. They're not sure.
Yeah. And it's so confusing, but it's, I like using a lot of food analogies, whenever I talk. And it's kind of the same thing as like, if you're not sure what food you like or what your food, tastes are, the way that you find out is by trying. And so to your point, Lisa, I think that, you know, if we give ourselves the space to try and explore, then we will figure out what it is that we want, but we have to try it out. And some people need more time figuring that out than others, right? Same way that, some people know exactly what they want to do when they grow up, and some people have no idea. So they take a lot of different classes, just to kind of see if anything piques their interest. And both are okay. They both, tracks like learn so much in their own ways. So it's really about what works for each of us individually.
Correct. Should we get to some questions? I saw something came in and I had a couple, and I think Lisa maybe had one.
Yeah.
Someone wrote here, for someone who is heavy and always insecure about their weight, how can they break the cycle and not give their children a negative relationship with food?
I think, to start, I think reading the book, Health at Every Size can be super helpful. I mean, this is like a whole other live that we can do. I think it's such an important question. But I think really, healing, really taking steps to heal your own relationship with food is crucial to giving your children those messages, because your children watch you, and I can't even tell you how many times, I hear women say in front of their children, "Ugh, I'm so fat. Like, I need to go on a diet. Ugh, I ate too much on Shabbos. I really shouldn't be eating challah." Or just even not even saying a thing, but just checking themselves out in the mirror before they leave. And it's so clear that all they see is their flaws. Children pick up on everything. So my first suggestion would be, first of all, just on the very first level is just don't make any negative comments about yourself or food. Food should only be associated with joy and with health. And joy can come from babka cake, and joy can come from a salad. It's really and modeling for your children those healthy relationships with food, I think, is a really crucial step. And then, researching more. And I think that book can be a really great place to start.
Yes. Anything you wanted to say on that, Lisa? Or
No, one of the questions that I got was why am I always getting calls, reference calls, and asking me, "Oh, is she a small girl?"
Mm.
small in what way? Should ask that.
So, I mean, we all know the
Good
answer.
point.
Society,
I did.
society dictates, smaller, skinnier is better, and we know otherwise, that skinnier people are not always happier, and
Right, or healthier, right.
judge, right, like don't judge your spouse by what weight they are.
We're losing you a bit. Michali, you're getting cut off from Lisa a little?
Yeah.
Our connection is a little bit poor. Yeah, so I didn't exactly catch what you had said, Lisa, as the answer.
I'm saying, like, society, we can't, society dictates, you watch movies, you look at the magazines, the people on the covers, and all we're being pounded with, is that skinny and smaller is better. And, we as Jewish people should know a lot better than that, like not to judge a person just like, okay, oh, if she's a small girl, oh, okay, then I'll look into it, then it makes sense to me. Like, how does that even make sense? It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's also this is part of owning who you are. And if a guy wants a small girl, whatever that means, then okay, that's his preference. That's what Michali was saying, and kol hakavod. That doesn't mean that something's wrong with you, right? And I feel this is a message for whichever size you're at. You will face rejection in your life. If it's on a shidduchim, it will be in other things, regardless of your size. So I think that's if it is about your size, yes, it's painful, especially because there's just so much society stuff around that. but it could happen to anybody, and it does happen to anybody about a million things. Like, we all get no's, we all got rejected. It doesn't, it's, you know what I'm saying? So focusing on the number or the size is just a distraction. It's also just, it's just another way. So not to say it's not painful, but it's something to just kind of zoom out and be, this is rejection, this hurts, this is painful, this is rejection. Kind of like labeling it could sometimes make it feel like you're like everybody else that gets rejected.
Yeah, and I think also, the idea of big or small, equaling this is, attraction or not, having attraction is like so small thinking,
Mm-hmm.
because you can be so attracted to somebody, that is a size that you normally wouldn't be attracted to because their features and, how they move and,
Their
how they
face, their
talk
smile,
and their personality, that everything else just comes together. And when you look at them on a very physical level, even, you can think, wow, you're so beautiful, and feel very real physical attraction, right? And so I think that describing someone's attraction through your own subjective lens to the parent of the prospective date is just missing the boat completely. When I would get reference calls for friends, I would have like fathers ask me specific questions about, my friends' bodies. I never answered those questions because I felt, first of all, in terms of like modesty, like I didn't feel comfortable describing someone's body. And I would just simply say, I don't know, because that's not what I'm
Right.
focusing on when I talk to the people that I love and care about.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, truly, the people that I love and care about are absolutely beautiful to me. So I can describe their beauty. I can't necessarily describe, their bust size, and that's a question I'm asked from, people all the time. I think that, I'm just seeing from a lot of the comments here, I think that it's okay to want a skinny girl. I'm speaking to the guys now here. It's okay to want a skinny girl if you really see that that's the body type that you're attracted to. But I think that you have to really first ask yourself, is it a skinny thing or is it, an overall look thing? And I would encourage you to broaden your scope a little bit, because I think it's like literally the equivalent of saying, I want someone with green eyes, and I think, which is actually more rare, just by the way, genetically. So, Lisa, you're very lucky. Um, Exhibit A.
No.
But I think it's okay to know the type of body that you're generally attracted to, but to keep an open mind, and then also to challenge that, and to write someone off simply because of that without really being with them in a room is, I think, short-sighted, because you can be missing out on your bashir, and I think that you also want to challenge yourself. Where is this preference coming from? Is it because I'm told in our, not even just society, but really in our community, that skinny equals good? Is that where it's coming from? Or is it because I find my body's attracted to? So I think questioning that is okay, but, consistent with what this person is writing, I think having a happy person, a happy partner is the way to start.
We lost you.
You with me?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. I think that is the most important thing when looking for a partner, but that's a whole other subject of, how do we figure out what to look for in a spouse so we can have a healthy marriage? But I don't think that skinny equates, with happiness.
And to your point, like someone wrote, but the problem is they are not giving yeses to these girls, so they don't get a chance to know if there is an attraction. You are right, and that's their loss. And that would be my answer. Like,
I have a lot of guys, I make a lot of speed datings. I've been doing it. I've been really ramping up speed datings over the last 2 years, like, because of COVID and whatever.
Mhm.
And I have so many, both guys and girls, come over to me and say, wow, like, I'm so happy I met her in person. Like I have a totally different picture of her.
Yeah.
Which was another discussion for like judging on pictures alone, etc. You really have to see like the person and speak to the person. It's not just about a picture. It's not just about a size.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, like have a 5-minute conversation with someone, like give them a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your interests match up to like if everything else matches up and you think like she's not really my look, like it's a little silly because it could be meeting her in person. You'll get a whole different story.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I think I share this with you, Faye, that like my motto always when I was in dating world was, I worked hard to create a life that I love. So
Mm-hmm.
whoever I marry has to be so amazing that I'm willing to go through a transition and letting them into my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that hashkafa in terms of valuing yourself
Mm-hmm.
and really thinking that whoever I marry is so lucky to be a part of what I've created, with God's help for myself. And I think also going into dating, not with I think tachlis is important if you do have a goal in mind to get married. But I think going into a date thinking like you're either my bashert or you're not my bashert. And if you're not, then see ya. I don't want to, continue this date. Let me see how I can cut it, shorter and just be on my merry way because this is a waste of my time. I think having the philosophy of like every person I meet is just as meant to be as my future spouse. And God wanted me to meet this person. So let me sit and have a conversation with this human being, whether or not they're my future spouse or not. Let me just get to connect on a human level. Let me get to meet another human being. Maybe I'll learn something about the world or other people or about myself. And that's what
When,
God
when
wants
she's
me to
going
get out of that.
when she's going to say one step closer, we really mean one step closer. Each
Exactly.
Yeah.
person brings you
Yeah,
closer to your bashert.
Exactly.
exactly. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One more question I have here. Sometimes this is like someone that's our status. Sometimes people don't realize that they're not at a healthy weight. Is there a gentle way to bring it up as a parent, as a sibling,
Mm.
friend? So my answer would be, I think that people as an adult know what's good for them, and I think that there's nothing that you can say or do that would make them closer to health or happiness. So my idea would be to just to just love them as they are, and hopefully that will help them continue to love themselves as they are, which is ultimately the greatest gift that no diet will ever give you or
Yeah.
loss. So yeah.
Yeah, and just really modeling what that is. I think, I think it's also different like when you're raising children, like in my home we talk about how food makes us feel. And we talk about if it feels good in our tummies, if it feels good on like a physical level, and does it make us happy? Like do we feel like we're connecting in a social way over food, like breaking our bread together? Do we feel like we're treated? And I think Hannah Sarah Radcliffe posted something recently about that that I think it was in her like emails that treats nurture the heart and food nurtures the stomach. And I think that modeling those ideas in our relationships, whether they're with children or with adults, can be really helpful. So like when you go out to eat with a friend, you don't have to say the way that you're relating to food is super dysfunctional, but you can just say, oh my goodness, I love this chocolate chip muffin. It is absolutely delicious, and you can, if you see a friend is really struggling, you can say, hey, you seem unhappy. What's going on? You can speak to what's going on internally as opposed to, talking about what you're noticing externally. But that's just from a place of care, not from a place of I'm trying to change you. But yeah, I think offering unsolicited advice in general is pretty unwelcome by all human beings.
Or Friday, whatever it is. My phone might totally die and we will be cut off. So I think we should offer a segue to transition this ending of this amazing live. So any last thoughts anybody wants to say?
I think just that this is a huge conversation and this is simply a beginner's conversation. And at least it's just my subjective perspective. And I understand just in response to the ad that there are so many different reactions. It's impossible to cover all of them, and address all of them. But if anyone wants to have future conversations about this, I think just, starting these conversations, that's the one good thing that came out of this ad, is that we're talking. We're all talking and we're all pushing back. And I think that can bring out some really positive changes in our community. So I think, just continuing to talk about these things and working towards health, it's an everyday, choice, I think is the way to go.
I agree.
And if you're a mom and you're in charge of, the grocery shopping, not having certain things in the house, may be a good idea. Like, if let's say, that your kids are big noshers or whatever, just try to have the right type of stuff, in the house. And that can also make a big difference. If it's not there, they can't have it, or, it'll make it harder for them to get it. So, have healthier choices available in the house also to avoid, to avoid other things.
I don't know what like intuitive eating and nutritionists, like not nutritionists would agree with you.
Intuitive eating. Yeah.
I won't slam you for that, but I'm just saying, like, I think that it could be seen as counter. I think like what studies and research has shown is that it comes across as counterintuitive or counterproductive, because it's, again, like labeling food as good or bad. Again, this is something I've recently learned about. So this is not something that I, naturally been, just new, but I think that, it's labeling food as good or bad. And then the children get that message, and then they're going into the world with like, no, that's bad for you, or that's good for you. And then it's just up for that. So while I think it, like, on paper, it sounds like such a great idea and it makes sense. And if it would work, then it would be like, oh, this is great. This is what everyone should do. But it kind of perpetuates potentially harmful messages. So that
That's true. When my kids used to go, to other people's houses to play, some of them had like locked the nosh drawer or whatever. Like they would come home, they would bring their friends back home, and they're like, "Oh, come check out my nosh closet." And I was like, I actually remember, like, I felt good. I'm like, okay, I'm glad that they want to come and and get these treats. So
yeah, I think I love that idea, and I very much ascribe to the intuitive eating philosophy that there is no such thing as bad food, but I think it's okay to put boundaries around food, and that I think that if it's a balance of joy and health, not, and just to give an example, people have real allergies to foods that are considered super nutritious, right? But I think that, really the step towards having a healthy relationship with food is knowing how to have that balance of joy and health, and creating boundaries around food, but not restrictions around food or or negative values around food.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. But thank you for sharing that, Lisa, because like it's so, like, someone's so educated like yourself, like that's why I was afraid to have this live, to be honest, like, because there's so many intricacies that we can't necessarily like be smooth about, because it's complicated, and things, new issues and new studies and new this comes up every day for this type of conversation. And I think it's so brave of us, proud of myself for being on this live, and I'm so proud of like just together, because it's so important. It really is important to speak up and to let people know that this is a conversation that now they need to go and have. And you could disagree with so many things that we said, and that's okay. I'm like, let us know. But also to have this conversation in a way that feels healthy for you with the people that are important to you in your life.
Yes. Couldn't have said it better myself, Faye.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. This was amazing and such an honor.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
All right. So bye.
Bye-bye.